What is it like being a Jamaican in Nunavut? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Sonia Osbourne, a Jamaican living in Nunavut. Welcome, Sonia. How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's great to be talking to you today.
So let me ask you this first question before I get into my regular questions. Did I say the name of the region correctly?
As correct as you can be. It took me a while to actually pronounce it. And if I talk to some of my Inuit friends, they'll still say, no, Sonia. So it's Nunavut. And so that's, we're Jamaicans. So I think it's acceptable um, around the world where I'm still practicing in terms of pronunciation of the
All
words.
right.
So, yes.
All right. I don't feel too bad. I don't feel too bad. So first question, where in Jamaica are you from?
I am from a little, actually, I was born in a compound, Maroon Town, and then I moved from a compound and went to White Hill. That's a little place in St. Elizabeth. So I grew up in St. Elizabeth. So I'm from St.
Okay.
Elizabeth, Jamaica.
I've been up to a compound once. I've been up there once, not for the festival. Very interesting, historic, just walking around. Yeah.
I
So
left there when I was a toddler, so I hope you asked me nothing about a compound. But I remember that festival thing. I remember the marching. I remember um, the music. I remember the people. But that's about it for a compound. But I spent most of my life in St. Elizabeth, White Hill, and
okay.
a very little piece of Jamaica that I love dearly.
So which school are you representing if you went to high school in Jamaica?
The Hampton. I went to Hampton, the girls' school there, and yes, that's the. I think yeah, that was in those days when you do the common entrance.
Right.
If you're from out way in the country and you choose a high school, it's really Hampton or Monroe. Hampton if you're a girl, Monroe if you're a boy. So
Okay.
I went to the Prestige Hampton School.
I have some good friends from Hampton, and their Monroe are still close. They I believe they have some joint events always, very close, very close.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's get to how did you end up in this region and called Nunavut?
Well, how I end up in this territory, it's
Yes.
it has been a lot. It's a story there.
So let me back
So
up a bit before we, because we're calling the name, and I'll let you explain to folks, if you can, where it is, and it's kind of a independent, but kind of not independent, and I'll let you talk about where it is. So because you're like, what's this? Where's this place?
I know, I know. I must confess that I'm not going to pretend to know quite a bit, but for sure. So in Canada, there are three territories, and one of them is Nunavut. And Nunavut is in Arctic Canada. So I usually tell my friends, in my Jamaican friends, I live near to Santa Claus. So if you can think about that, it's way up north. And yes, we're part of Canada, but not a region. We're a territory of the three territories. And
Okay.
Nunavut has been independent 1999, its own governance. And so, yes,
Okay.
it's
And
where
and
we
I
where we live.
and I also understand that the region, from when I looked at the map, kind of has some islands to it also. That region, that's yes. Am I right?
Uh, what you've read is so. What I've experienced, not a lot. I lived mainly in in the territory, there are actually three regions in the territory. There's the Kivalliq region, there's the Kitikmeot region, and there's the Kikitani region. So in the Kivalliq region, which is further north, near to Manitoba, Winnipeg. Winnipeg is like that major hub coming into Nunavut. If you fly, of course, you only can fly in. Then that's the area that I know a lot more about. The Kitikmeot, very little. The Kikitani, that's where I'm now living. So,
all right.
Yes, it's an interesting place to be.
All right. So I know people are going to be Googling and looking up for the maps and everything else. So now back to my question. How did you get there?
My family, we migrated 2008, in March 2008 to Canada, and we stayed in Barrie, Ontario. And as an educator coming from Jamaica, I needed to find a school to teach. And so in my search, of course, Facebook, a friend of mine who went to college with me at the Michael, now it's a university, connected with me and said, Sonia, I'm here teaching in Nunavut and you're looking for teaching jobs. Why don't you apply to Nunavut? I said, no, what? And so I went on Google, of course, and started to research this place. And I said, oh my God, where is this place? I went way up north. And that's how I was introduced to Nunavut. And during that year, I competed on many competitions, got successful in one, came to Nunavut, that's in Kivalliq at that time. And I told my family I'm not moving here without them. So my daughter, my son, my husband, we all came to Arvia 2009. And since then, my daughter and son, they're back down in Barrie. My husband and I, we're still here in the north. And yes, I've been in education since then. So, and that in itself has been a journey for me in terms of my professional journey.
Nice. So the first thing is when I looked up this place on the map here, it close to the Arctic Circle there. It is, isn't it cold?
Of course. Hello. It's the total opposite of Jamaica. So I've been in temperatures of -60 and still go to work. Minus 60 degrees Celsius. So it's a weird kind of experience, really. So yes, it's cold. Even for my southern friends in Canada, think that I'm crazy living up here. So it can get that cold, and
they still ask you to come to work when it's -60.
Yes, as long as you dress properly and you can go to work. There's some of our schools can open at that temperature, but if things are really extremely cold, we will lock down the communities and just stay put at home.
Well, when I hear minus, when I even hear, when I hear freezing temperature, not even minus, it's cold. And so, but so tell us a little bit about the people there in Nunavut. What are they called? First of all, what, like Jamaica, Jamaicans. Nunavut, I don't know what they're called. And tell us
Inuit. The Inuit. Okay, so the people here are called the Inuit people. The derogatory word is Eskimos. We don't use that here. They are called Inuit. Yes, so they are indigenous, but they are the Inuit people. And you'd ask, what do I like about them? They remind me of Jamaicans, actually. They are warm, welcoming, love music, love laughing, laid back. Time is, everything is easy and cool kind of thing. Very loving people. They understand colonization, um, and I don't know. I just love being among them, even though I don't speak the language. I understand a little about more than I do when I just came, really, um, more than I did. But you know what? I just love being with them, and serving them in the area of education even makes my, yeah, I'm very passionate about that, regardless of where I am, but even so, more so being here
What
working with the Inuit.
what is the language called?
Inuktitut, and but then there is another. You have Inuktitut, which is Inuktitut, and Inui inactive. I can't even pronounce it very well. I studied the pronunciation for the interview, and now it's gone out of my head. But
That's
there,
fine. That's fine.
Inuktitut had different dialects, and Inuktitut has Inuktitut, and in another region, Kitikmew region, they have another name for their language.
Okay.
And then there's French and there's English as our, so we have, took French and English here. So in our schools, even though the main um, uh, way of teaching, especially in our high school, is through English. The language that we used to teach is English, but in the lower school, we teach the kids in Inuktitut. Most of the schools from kindergarten to say grade 4 or 5.
So
So it's an
they're
interesting
preserved.
place.
So they have preserved the language by teaching it, as you said, in the earlier grades.
Yes, and we're constantly doing that, more so now than before. So that is, an interesting journey in our history here to preserve that language. But I'm not going to pretend that I'm master of that subject, really, because I'm still learning a lot as a Jamaican Canadian living among Inuit people. It's very, very interesting, and I feel it's almost it's I feel blessed, really, to be part of um, a group of people who a lot of other people in the world would love to be here. They will pay millions of dollars to come here, actually, just to experience this culture. And I'm here working and living with the Inuit people. It, just imagine Jamaica, the Arctic.
I, I,
It's just out
I,
of this world.
I can't imagine because let me tell you, yeah, it gets a little cold, and where I am, and the boots and the sweaters and the 3 layers, and I'm talking just a 10 degree, a 10 degree dip sometimes, and yeah, I can't imagine. So,
You have to experience it.
all right,
You should.
I may. So let me ask you this question: when they find out that you are Jamaican, what are some of the typical reactions that you get?
Um, what are you doing in Canada? Why would you leave the sunshine and the beaches and come here and live? That's like, yeah, that's, I mean, I say that and I laugh about it, but really, when Canadians, when people here in Nunavut reflect, when they ask me where I'm from and I say Jamaica, they can't wrap their head around why I would leave the sunshine and the beach and the warm weather and come here. So, and the
Do you
music and all of that.
do you have any people you have encountered in Nunavut that has is into the heard about the Jamaican culture in terms of like the reggae, like the food, like and have you?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. We actually have we have Jamaicans here. You know, when I remember the first community I that we lived in, I remember hearing loud reggae music being played on the street coming from a car, and the car is just bombing like that. I'm thinking, what is going on? This is the Arctic. What is happening here? I could hear Bob Marley music playing, and a girlfriend of mine who is from Nigeria, actually, she showed me where this guy lived, and he had the Jamaican flag flying, and I think he had like locks or something. It was kind of weird, but it just I felt at home. And then we moved to another community, and I met this lady, and she said, Jamaica man. And I'm like, hello. She said, I lived in Montego Bay, either Montego Bay or Ocho Rios, for a few months actually. And she was telling me about the food and the patois language. And it was so refreshing just to make that encounter with an Inuk woman about Jamaica. And then we have teachers who are Jamaican here. I had neighbors who are Jamaicans.
Oh
Right now,
wow.
even living in the city on this building in the apartment, I have a Jamaican friend downstairs. Go figure. I mean, it's amazing that little Jamaica is right here in the Arctic. And so,
Nice, nice. So,
yeah.
food. Let's talk a little bit about the food there. What is the food like? And
Well,
if you could recommend one thing, what would you say we should try from Nunavut?
okay, from Nunavut, you should
Yes.
try the caribou meat. Um, that you could curry it, you could cook it like pepper steak. I think that's fine.
What
If
what
you're
what is
Caribou is What is caribou? Caribou is the animal that is hunted most on the land. Some people call it reindeer, but it's really caribou. They look, if you do some research, you'll see they kind of, look like reindeer, but that meat is consumed a lot by Inuit. There's also the meat seal. I tasted that. If you're adventurous, you could taste the what did I taste that was very different? The mox oxen. That is interesting. So the caribou, really, I think a lot of Jamaicans would connect to. I Yeah.
what
Um,
what what
fish
does
is another one.
okay.
We have, yeah. So there's
So the
um,
caribou, I'm going back to the caribou because you said we should curry it.
okay.
Is it tasting like, does it taste like goat?
Uh, Not really. But you know how Jamaicans are creative, right? So if you use your own spice, we use our spices on the meat, we could get it a little more like our thing. I find that for some people, it depends on how it is prepared. You'll have to acquire the taste of the caribou meat. But if
Okay.
you like drain the blood out of it and soak it in milk, one of my I have a friend, he's actually Caribbean. He just knows how to do that. He's now living in southern Canada, but he just knew how to get that caribou meat tasting like our Jamaican meat,
Fine.
really.
Okay.
So
So you said you tried seal. What did
yes,
seal taste like? And did you only have it one time?
I had it once, and respectfully, it tasted like rubber to me, and I say that respectfully. Um, but it
All right. You
slopped by Inuit
yeah, I
people.
get it. You tried it. You saw you tried it. So hey.
Yes, yes, I tried it. I tried
um
it.
I can imagine it may be very difficult getting, and this is me thinking of fruits.
No.
Oh,
Okay, yes, we don't have trees here, right? However, we get fruits from down south. There's through Ottawa or Toronto coming in. I mean, you in the stores we have mangoes, bananas, grapes, apples, the things that you see in southern Canada, we will have those fruits here. Um,
okay.
in
All right.
terms of food, I see Jamaican water crackers right here in the city in our stores. Chicken noodle soup, plantain, plantain. I love plantain, green plantain, ripe plantain, ackee, but in the tin. But I can I eat it.
Right.
Codfish, because we have people from Newfoundland here, so saltfish we call it in Jamaica. Yeah,
Right.
I can eat that. Coconut milk, even the real coconut. Go figure.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that
It's
is that's
I've
great.
actually yeah. We
What
actually
you were
got
about to say?
mu-
You've actually. What have you were about to say? You actually.
we have eaten goat meat, curry goat. We curry goat. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's amazing. It's amazing that you can be in the north and you can be eating plantain or
Nice.
curry goat or rice and peas. You know? Yeah. Yeah.
So from a cultural perspective, there, the Inuit, right? People.
Yes, yes.
Um, have you come upon like a custom that was very interesting? Could be anything, maybe marriage
Yes.
ceremony or what, tell us about that.
Um, throat singing. And I'm throat singing is where they sing from the throat, kind of obvious, but the sounds that come out when that is done, you can research it. It's something that I've never heard before and witness. And every time I witness it, actually 2 weekends ago, I went to a graduation ceremony and two young ladies did throat singing. And it was just so beautiful to hear the sounds that come out, and drum dancing. The drum is like a big fan. Uh, so those two things, in terms of cultural celebration,
Right,
I
right.
find very
Okay.
interesting and different.
That custom is very interesting. Have you encountered any other type of customs?
Yes, my first year being in Nunavut as a teacher, I was teaching a grade 9 class. And customary in Jamaica and here too, when you're doing the register and the attendance register. So I'm going down my list, calling names, and no one in the classroom was saying anything. And I just looked up at the kids and I said, "None of you understand English?" And people were saying, just looking at me. And after the fact, I remember sharing that story with a fellow teacher, and she said, "Sonia, they use their eyes, their face to talk. When their eyelids go up, it means yes, and when the nose come together like this, it means no. So when I was there, marking the register, people, um, if I say Peter, it's Peter here, they would be going, but I wasn't looking on the faces to see that. Yes, yes, yes. So that was a great learning for me in terms of
So
the culture.
so why
That was so
why
funny.
why is it? I mean, I know we use a facial expression like we said, someone, somebody over there, so
Yeah.
right, or whatever. But is there any background behind why the up and the down? Is there anything that is there a specific reason why?
I think when you think about the culture, really, if most of the time, like, I mean, the year, more than half the year, you're always it's cold, your hands are cold, you're always have your hands in your coat or in your mittens, and just your face may be showing. So you don't want to open your mouth and speak too much because the cold air will be coming in. And so really it makes sense. You need to communicate without exposing your body to the cold air. So that's my thinking. And I think for those who are listening, who are Inuit or indigenous people, will say, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And I think that's it. So, the
Good.
the 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 eyes, the nose, and even greeting each other is nose to nose, called the kunik, I think, kunik,
Oh.
which is another interesting thing. A student tried to do that with me, and I thought, a male student, and I'm like, no, no, not really, no, I'm not doing that. But it's just okay to greet each other, a baby, a father, a grandfather, in a loving, respectful way, nose to nose.
Very,
So
very
yeah,
interesting. Very interesting.
it is. Yeah.
And what is the dominant music you would say that you hear at events or maybe the radio or whatever? What's the dominant music?
Um, the there is the Inuit themselves have their own music in their own language, but they seem to have a very close connection with country music. Um, Country music seemed to be loved by many Inuit people, and a number of the few Inuit people that I have interacted with, they actually love reggae music. Um, yeah, but
Okay.
it's more country music kind of thing. I've been to a dance with some friends before, and yeah, it was into
Country.
the country music. Yeah,
So are
country,
they
and
doing
they. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so are they doing like the country music dances and wearing the like again the cowboy hat and the boots and
No, they don't wear cowboy hats. They actually have their own kind of dress with beads and so on. Um, and they have this is the I'm struggling now with the words to describe the kind of dance. I call it hillybilly, but God, forgive me even for saying hillybilly. That's not a good term. But they have music very similar to where they do the jig and the. Right
all
now, I'm
right,
stunned for the words.
all right, all right.
But you can do the research on that. I feel horrible about that part.
So
Um,
one of
but
the things,
you know, I'm
so
just
what,
thinking that like the young people,
right?
they dance like down south. As a matter of fact, they're great, very great dancers. They're very flexible and really into music, and they know how to rock. That's what I
Okay.
love about them. Yeah, Jamaicans all the way. They would do well that way with us.
So one of the questions I always ask when I talk to folks who are out in the cold is, do you have you experienced this like lake jumping in the cold lake? Do they have any of those type of customs there? That those cleansing or where you jump into the cold lake? No.
Not that I'm aware of. No,
Okay. All right.
no, 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 no.
So, how much daylight do you have?
It depends on where you live in the Arctic. It's during the winter, you will have shorter days of daylight. Where I lived, I didn't experience total darkness for 24 hours. But if you go further north, that you'll experience that. But I've experienced 24 hours of daylight where it doesn't get, I don't know, it doesn't get dark.
For
That
how
is
long?
beautiful.
And for how long
Um,
does that happen?
it usually starts around, I'm trying to remember months here, maybe July, August, no, June, July, August,
So for a couple months, or are you
thereabout.
talking maybe 6 months,
A
four
few.
months?
No, no. For me, what I've experienced, maybe a couple of months of that.
And how
For
does your
others, it could be longer, like 6 months or less.
wow, wow.
Yeah,
How does your
yeah.
body, how did your body adjust to, you know, you're thinking, all right, it's 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I'm going to bed, and then you look
I
out
can
and
do
say,
that. I just, I don't know. For me, and this is not the same even for in my family. We adjusted differently, but for me, I'll just say, "Oh, it's time for me to go to bed." And I just go to bed and sleep, even though it's daylight out. Of course, in at the window, you put a blind there that makes the room dark, and I don't have a problem with it actually. Some people,
okay.
I would imagine, would struggle with it. But I'm one of those very unusual people, I must say. I'm having fun in the Arctic, and I know my family is not going to be happy hearing me say that, but they know. They'll just shake their head and say, "Yeah, looks like she's still there."
So, in terms of activities, um, what would you, if somebody was to visit, what would you tell them
Hmm.
to see, or maybe you say visit at this time of the year so you can see this, or visit this particular place, something. What would you say? I'm not looking for an attraction mainly, but it can be an attraction. But what would you recommend?
Um, in the winter when it's not so cold, and that is funny to say like that,
Yes, it
dog
is.
sledding. Dog sledding. I experienced that, and it's the most beautiful, peaceful um, experience ever. That is something that if my friends are coming here during the winter, I'd want them to experience that. During the summer, and summer again is can be cool. Um, go for walks to see the beautiful lakes, berry picking, where we pick berries on the shrub on the ground. Some people go boating. I don't really do that.
Well,
Yeah, and fishing. We call it jigging, where you have a hole in the ice on the lake, and of course, some people will not do that. I don't have a problem there. The ice is
I,
frozen. It's not gonna fall in, but that
I
would be a great experience.
I think that fishing experience, I that one sounds very interesting because I've seen where they've done it, and I think it's very interesting.
Yes, and great if you catch a fish. I've never caught a fish yet. Oh my goodness. I think my Inuit friends are going to be like, Sonia, get with the program. You've been here 12 years, but I've tried. And I've never caught a fish. My son did, and that fish, when we cooked it, oh, even now I can taste it in my mouth. The fact that he caught the fish, I guess. But yeah, it's an experience that we all should
Try.
participate in. And yeah, and maybe the snowmobile. I actually tried that. That's interesting. It's like riding a bike in the snow. It's I think Jamaicans will just go crazy on that one, especially if you love just the space and to go fast.
So tell me about some of your funny experiences living there in Nunavut.
Okay, well, this is in the form of an experience I had in terms of I went on a land trip with some students. Going on a land trip is going camping. In Jamaica, you would be going camping in a building or in the bushes. We went camping on the land. At the time it was winter, and we camped on the frozen lake. So I was with two students in the tent, and I had my sleeping bag. Of course, I think we stayed out for maybe 2 or 3 nights on the land. And I remember putting my sleeping bag on the ice because the floor of the tent is just ice. And when I say ice, the ice is more white than crystal clear. So it's like hard snow. And that night I had on my parka. Parka is like the warmest coat made commercially made in Canada. So I had on my parka and many layers of warm clothing and my socks and everything. And I said, I'm not taking one stitch off because it was freezing cold. It could have been -20. So I went in the sleeping bag and tried to sleep. Oh my God, I thought I was gonna die. I could not sleep. I started shaking, and the girls, they were giggling and they were having fun. And I was there. I thought I was going to die. And I remember saying a prayer, said, Lord, I cannot die in Nunavut. And I imagined the headline in Jamaica, Jamaican educator died of something, of the cold in Nunavut. I said, oh my God, I never slept that night. So in the morning, I'm telling the story to the girls, and they said, Sonia, the caribou skin right at the door of the tent, you should have put the caribou skin on the ice, then you put your sleeping bag on the caribou skin, then you would be warm. I'm like, what? And I kept walking over those caribou skin, never knew what that was about. Go figure. I almost died. And that was, to me, it was hilarious. Everyone laughed at me. And every time I remember it, I said, what? Not understanding the culture, I could have died. Caribou skin makes sense. Keep me warm. That was too funny. That's one of many, but that one has stood out. There was another one, but I don't know if I should talk about that one. But on that same trip, usually elders will come with me, with us on the trip. And elders meaning those who are in their maybe late 80s and so on. So there was this lady, elder, and she had a horrible cough, and she smoked, and I thought she was sick, like had a cold or something, really awful. And I noticed every time she's coughing, the students, nobody looked perturbed, but I was thinking, this woman, poor woman, should not be on this trip. And on our way home, we stopped to have tea, where we have the Coleman stove, and she was the one making the tea. And she was coughing over this tea and everything. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't think I should drink any of that tea. I'm thinking about hygiene, etc. And I'm thinking, okay. And I was so cold, and she handed me a cup of tea. I just grabbed that tea and I just drank it down so quickly. I just thought, I don't care if I die of something or not, or it was just, it really connected with me, the whole thing of survival. You don't think about cold or germs or, not to mention I carried wipes and toothpaste on that trip. Never touched that once. Just go figure. It was so it was just hilarious. Not knowing. Now I've learned my lesson. Of course, wipes are going to freeze, right?
Right.
Water, yeah. And toothpaste. People brush their teeth. I didn't. I was not going to expose. Nope. Sorry.
All right,
Hygiene.
that
Nope.
is
Out the
great.
door.
That's some great experiences. So,
Yeah.
in terms of cost of living, what's the cost of living there like?
I think, yes, it's very high. Just imagine that things are flown into the territory. So you fly things in, or during the summer months, things come in on the wharf, sorry, on the ships. So things, cost of living is very high. It's like 3 to 4 times more than down South Canada. However, the salaries are high in a way to meet that cost reasonably well, but generally it's very high. So you
Okay.
have to really plan properly, and it's very difficult for some people
Okay.
to live because of that. That's
Okay.
maybe is a downside in a way.
Right. What
Yeah.
advice would you give someone that's thinking of coming to Nunavut?
Okay, if you're adventurous, adaptable, flexible, respectful, need an experience, a lifetime experience, then this is a place for you to come. If you want to be here, to be part of um, the people that live here and to walk beside them and to learn and to serve.
Okay.
Outside of that, stay where you are. Don't come. Don't come.
I'm going I'm going to ask you this question because you seem so comfortable. You seem to enjoy teaching there. Um, um, how are teachers looked upon? It look I mean, it sounds like they would are very well respected.
Um, yes, generally speaking, like anywhere else, the teachers that come here and integrate in the communities as leaders in sports and other things, yes, they are respected. The kids love being part of their lives, or the part of the kids' lives. So it's an
Okay.
honor really to be here to serve. And it's every time I think about my own experience here, because I came as a student support teacher, and that's like a special educator. And I spent 4 years in a high school. Then an opportunity came for me to go to the regional office in education. I went over as a program consultant. Then an opportunity came up for superintendent of schools. I was successful in a competition there. I served in that role for almost 6 years, and now another opportunity came up as an assistant deputy minister, and I'm one of the assistant deputy minister in Nunavut. So it's a humbling experience to serve in education here. And for me, I still pinch myself of the journey that I've been on, and I've had the opportunity to be able to complete my master's, to do my doctoral studies here, and now to serve at this highest level in education. It's very humbling, very, very
Wow.
humbling.
Congrats. That's amazing that, you a
Thank
Jamaican
you.
is serving in the ministry there. That's just amazing. You're probably, I don't know. I'm just saying you're probably one of the first and probably one of the few.
Yes, yes, it's. I think it's historic. Yeah,
Wow.
and I
Wow.
feel very. Very proud to represent my own country because all my education really happened in Jamaica. And so my lived experiences in Jamaica and the work that I've had here professionally and to be at this level to serve the children of Nunavut. I can't tell
Um,
you what that is. I feel called to do this. And yes,
Amazing,
Jamaica
amazing. Well,
should be
well,
very proud of
oh
this
yeah,
accomplishment. It's really not about me, it's a bigger picture for people of Nunavut and people of Jamaica and Canada, really.
amazing. Read, amazing, amazing. So, winding down, and a couple more questions to go. First one is this:
Okay.
it's a scenario. You land in Jamaica. What is that first thing that you're doing? Whether it be some people it's food, some people I'm going to the beach. What's that first thing you're doing when you get off the plane and you land in Jamaica?
I try to strip my clothes off if I have on too much clothes coming from Canada. I'm like, okay, this is too hot for me. This is too hot. Outside of that, I want to have a patty and a soda. I don't know. That patty soda thing just hits me. For those who are North American, it's the pop and the patty. For
Right.
those who might be familiar with what my husband has made, it's similar to that, Jamaican patties. So yeah,
Oh, your husband, your
patty and the
husband
pop.
is your husband is making patties there.
He has shared his oh my goodness, he's not going to be pleased that I say this publicly, but yes, he has done his thing, and it's loved by quite a few. He just
Nice,
share
nice. So
shares that with.
we may have a patty
No, it's
shop
not.
in Nunavut.
Not quite on that scale, not, but a few people, a few Inuit and Jamaicans have tasted his patty, and it's the closest to our Jamaican patties. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty.
Well, you never know. You never know. Never say never. You never know. So, last question, and this is the one where I may put you on the spot.
Okay.
Um, how do you say goodbye in, well, the language now? I know you said the name of the language and so on. The most informal way the Inuit people say goodbye in their language.
Oh dear. I rather say thank you. Um, Matna,
Matna.
thank you.
Okay. Any
We actually
final?
don't say goodbye here.
Okay.
We don't say goodbye. It's see you, but I'll say thank you, Matna.
All right. Thank you again for joining us and listen. Historic that you are in the ministry there in Nunavut, and I mean, really appreciate the time. Any final thoughts before I say thank you in in the Inuit language?
And it could mean another word. It could be another word, but Matna will settle on. Just to say that I really did. I had no clue that there was such a place as Nunavut. I know it's on the map, um, but when I came to Canada, my intention wasn't to be. My intention really was just to come to Canada and integrate in the system. I wasn't thinking of Nunavut. And Nunavut found me, and I have not regretted it one bit. I'm far away from my family and friends. However, Nunavut has opened doors for me to serve in education in a way that I feel very humbled and privileged. And I would love to have some of my friends to come here one day, just to experience a little of what I have
All right.
It's a lifetime experience. So matna.
All right. Matna, and I hope I said it right. Matna.
You you did. You did.
Thank you again, Sonia. Blessings. Show us some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.